This is the third installment of our new series where we rank the best coasters that opened in a specific year. We're moving on to 2003, which was definitely a down year in terms of new coasters that were built in the US. Only 20 new roller coasters were built, which is one of the lowest amounts of new coasters built in a single year. Okay, let's get right to it. These are the top 10 best roller coasters that opened in 2003. After the coaster-heavy years of the early 2000s, 2003 seems to signal the end of the coaster wars. It's like the parks were out of money after one-upping each other, because we struggled finding even 10 quality coasters to rank. As before, the coasters on this list are ranked based on how they operated at the time of their opening year. That is, if they became rougher, or closed, or had modifications in later years, that will not play a role in how they're ranked today. But first, let's start off with some honorable mentions. I'm just kidding. We were serious when we said that this list is literally every brand new major roller coaster that opened in the US in 2003. There are no honorable mentions to mention. I wish I had something to say about this coaster kicking off the list at number 10, which is Crazy Mouse at Ride Playland in New York. But unfortunately, I wasn't allowed to ride because I was too tall. What kind of crap is that? So I'm going to throw to the other Chris for this one. Yo, Chris, how was Crazy Mouse when we went to Ride Playland?
Thanks for asking, Chris. Crazy Mouse was, I don't really remember it since I went on it 14 years ago. But it is yet another Wild Mouse coaster starting off a countdown. Except this time it's from Zamperla, so even if I do not remember the ride experience, I can tell you it's probably not that great. At least it's a credit I have that you'll likely never be able to get. Back to you, Other Chris.
Wow, thanks for nothing. If you needed yet another example of just how poor 2003 was for new coasters, a pair of cloned family coasters are tied for the number 9 spot, but it is what it is. Rugrats Runaway Reptar at Carowinds, now known as Kitty Hawk, and Swamp Thing at Wild Adventures are family inverts by Vekoma, also known as the Vekoma Hang and Bang amongst roller coaster enthusiasts. Luckily, there aren't inversions on these models, otherwise the headbanging would be a lot worse. But these are made for families, reaching a maximum height of 48 feet and a top speed of a mile 26 miles per hour. At best, they're an excellent step up to the big kid rides. Like Vekoma's larger inverted model that leaves your ears bleeding, puts you in a concussion, and wishes you never rode roller coasters again. Number 8 goes to Jackrabbit at Celebration City. It's the first of 2 coasters from this park that made this list. Built by E&F Miler Industries, Jackrabbit is a 58-foot tall high miler with some pretty good laterals. It resembles basically an oversized Wild Mouse coaster, but with longer trains. Unfortunately, Celebration City in Branson, Missouri closed for good in 2008, but Jackrabbit was relocated to Wild Adventures in Georgia in 2010. It was then relocated again in 2019, where it now pleases guests as Hurricane at Fun Spot America in Kissimmee, Florida. Spinning into the number 7 spot is Spider at Lagoon in Utah. This Maurer spinning coaster was the first of its type in North America. Opposite of the Gerstlauer spinning coaster model where 2 pairs of riders face each other, on this coaster the 2 pairs of seats face opposite directions. Going up the vertical hairpin turn is especially fun, and while it has nothing to do with the ride experience itself, standing in line at the entrance is a giant black spider that spits out water out of its mouth at guests walking below. Overall, we think it's worth more repeat rides than Mormons Have Wives.
Nancy, give me a beer.
Mormons aren't allowed to drink alcohol.
Peter, did you just throw those women away?
No.
Stealing the number 6 spot is Steel Venom at Valley Fair. While this is the 3rd year in a row where a new Intimate Impulse has made our list, these never get old. Yes, it's a clone, but it's a really good clone. And it gave Valley Fair two things it didn't have before: an invert and a launch coaster. For a park with not a lot of space to grow, it's a perfect fit and provides high thrills in a small footprint. What's especially awesome about Steel Venom is that the holding brake still works. Riding out loud at number 5 is Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain. That's a parking lot. Riding out loud at number 5 is Scream at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Oh, okay. There we go. When you're trying to be the roller coaster capital of the world, you will do anything to keep that coaster count record, including changing the location of this B&M Floorless coaster, which was originally intended for Six Flags Over Texas, the moment Cedar Point announced that they were opening a new coaster in 2003. Wow, I wonder which one that is. In fact, Magic Mountain was supposed to open an S&S drop tower called Scream in 2003, but instead built this mirror image clone of Six Flags Great Adventures Medusa directly on top of their employee parking lot, just to retain the record. After getting Goliath in 2000, Deja Vu in 2001, and X in 2002, Scream just wasn't that much of an exciting addition. The name, the location, and the layout. Everything about this coaster is lazy. However, you can't be too unhappy with a 150-foot tall B&M Floorless with 7 inversions. Well, except for that annoying rattle at the bottom of the first drop, which was caused by a piece of track that fell off the crane during construction.
What?
It's a bird, it's a plane, it's a tie for the number 4 spot. These two coasters are super, man. Superman Ultimate Flight, that is. After the wild success of Six Flags' first flying coaster at Six Flags Over Georgia in 2002, Six Flags ordered 2 more from B&M and opened these at Great Adventure and Great America the following year. Both coasters border a parking lot, but at least they have grass planted underneath, unlike Scream. B&M flying coasters are awesome. Our only complaint are how long the lines get. At number 3 is Timberhawk Ride a Parade at Wild Waves in Washington, and what is likely the best coaster in the Pacific Northwest. Timberhawk would be the first wooden coaster built by S&S worldwide, a company known for their pneumatically driven drop towers and launch coasters. But the coaster wasn't built without any experience. After the closure of Custom Coasters International, its founder, Denise Den, was hired by S&S to start their wooden coaster division. What greatly adds to the experience is how Timberhawk is built within a forest of trees, unlike some parks. Only the trees that absolutely needed to be removed were. Sure beats a parking lot. Who would do that? Oh yeah. Huh. You mean I can do more than just park my car in a parking lot? I could put a whole coaster there? Huh. That's interesting. The number 2 spot goes to the now defunct Ozark Wildcat at Celebration City, built by Great Coasters International. After dropping off the lift hill, there's hardly a single straight section of track as the coaster twists around itself in spectacular fashion. The curving first drop dropped riders right through the lift hill, providing a nice head chopper from the get-go. Unlike Jackrabbit, Ozark Wildcat was not relocated elsewhere when Celebration City closed in 2008, which is a shame because it would have fit in nicely at Silver Dollar City, whose parent company owned the park at the time of its closure. But then we may not have ended up with the awesomeness that is Outlaw Run. Unsurprisingly, the number 1 coaster of 2003 is Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point. And while kids today might know it as the world's tallest lawn ornament, believe it or not, it once operated as a coaster. Top Thrill Dragster was the first full-circuit coaster to break the 400-foot tall barrier, making it the world's first Stratocoaster. Which is rather impressive considering Cedar Point had just built Millennium Force, the world's first gigacoaster, only 3 years earlier. For comparison, it took them 11 years to make the jump to the first Giga from the first hypercoaster, Magnum XL 200. Top Thrill Dragster also claimed the speed record, reaching a top speed of 120 miles per hour. It used the recently innovated hydraulic launch technology first tested on its prototype accelerator at Knott's Berry Farm the year prior. Lacking any elements after launching up its 420-foot tall top hat and down a 270-degree vertical spiral, Top Thrill Dragster might be a short, one-trick pony, but it's one heck of a trick. Unfortunately, on September 6th, Cedar Point made a heartbreaking announcement that Top Thrill Dragster would be retired as we know it. Which sounds like it'll be rebranded and reopened with an LSM launch, maybe more, but it's hard to say. Thankfully, we still have its sister coaster, Kingda Ka, at Six Flags Great Adventure. But despite Top Thrill Dragster being shorter in height and having a slower top speed, we always preferred it over Kingda Ka because its launch was one consistent pull and the train has lap bars, further adding to the overall thrill level of the coaster. We hope that Cedar Point, with help from Intamin, are finally able to get Top Thrill Dragster operating again, even if it isn't exactly the same. The Cedar Point skyline just wouldn't be the same without it. This concludes our list of the top 10 coasters of 2003. We warned you, 2003 was a weak year for new coasters, but did any ranking surprise or upset you? Sound off in the comments below. We'll be releasing a new video from this series each month, so if you're a fan of this type of content, please consider giving this video a like and our channel a sub. And, as always, thank you for watching.